Hello everybody and welcome to this new episode of Books Up Close. It's the last one of 2021. Is that what year it is? I think so. This is my wrap up of the best books that I've read this year. Hopefully I can make this a yearly tradition. So some of the things that I've loved this year I've already reviewed here on this channel, so I'm not going to talk too much about those, but I would definitely flag up my reviews of both Luster and Detransition Baby, two amazing books that came out this year that I would highly recommend. So do go watch those videos, I'll link them up the top. But I want to tell you about three other books that I loved and think you should definitely read. The first one being Ingrid Pascals' Love After Love, which came out in 2020, I think, and is a really beautiful story set in Trinidad and is about this woman and her son and their lodger, and they form this really interesting new family, if you like, this triad that works through so many kinds of heartache and trouble. The story branches off in different directions, and all I can say is that it's both funny and thoroughly heartbreaking. I won't say any more, but it is so beautifully written. It's really warm, it's like full of life and character, and the people in it feel real, which is for me something I'm really starting to pay attention to when I'm reading more. Is like, does this person feel like a real human being? Can I imagine them? And in this book everyone feels fully three-dimensional, so I fully recommend reading that. The other book that I would highly recommend is Brandon Taylor's second book, which is called Filthy Animals, which is a set of short stories. And I've already talked a lot about real life here on this channel, but Filthy Animals I think is also fantastic. I don't know if it's better or not, but the stories are super incisive. What's interesting is some of these stories contain another triangle of characters. There's a guy Lionel and then a couple, Sophie and Charles, and Lionel finds himself in between these two in various ways that are both emotional and physical and sexual and other things. And those stories really are the kind of backbone of the book to me, I think. There are some really good other stories in there, but I always wanted to return to those three characters because the ways they interrelated were fascinating and actually overlapped a lot with the dynamics in real life. Two stories that I would fully recommend are the first one, Potluck, which is where we first meet the three characters, which is great. And then there's another one separate from them about different people called As Though That Were Love, which is really intense and builds to this incredible conclusion that is ambiguous and strange, and I didn't see it coming. So definitely read those two, if nothing else. I will be on the lookout for Brandon Taylor's next book. My other suggestion would be Memorial by Brian Washington. Now, I read his short stories a lot at the start of the year, I think in January, and really liked them. I don't think I loved them, but they were really interesting and dynamic and new. But this novel, Memorial, I finished a week or so ago, and it's still lingering with me. I think it's incredible. I've recommended it to my book club, so we're reading that next, so I hope they also like it. It is a story of a couple, Benson and Mike, an African-American and a Japanese-American, respectively, who are kind of falling apart as a couple. And as the book opens, Mike leaves Houston to go to see his dying father in Japan, while his mother is coming from Japan to America to visit him. So much of the book is spent with Benson and his boyfriend's mother trying to get along, and then we switch perspective and see what Mike is doing in Japan. And I think it's beautifully written. The characters, again, are fully believable and rendered well. It's got a really lovely structure. And it's just an incredibly well-written book. I flew through it. My final suggestion is an academic book. I mean, you could call it an academic book. It's published with Duke University Press, but I think lots of people could engage with this. It's called Complaint by Sarah Ahmed. Now, you may know Sarah Ahmed's work and her stuff on Twitter. She's got an amazing blog. And she came up with the term feminist killjoy, which is her kind of figure that disrupts the kind of patriarchal, sexist, racist, heteronormative norms that surge through our societies and institutions. And this book, Complaint, is the product of a really long time of Ahmed listening to and interviewing people who have made complaints within the university. Now, Ahmed left her institution Goldsmiths a while back because they failed to take seriously, as she puts it, sexual harassment complaints and other complaints, and she left in order to not be complicit with an institution that she said did not reckon with those things. And from there she kind of formed what the book terms a kind of complaint collective, i.e. the sense of people gathering together and talking about their complaints. And the book begins with this sentence: "To be heard as complaining is not to be heard. To be heard as complaining is not to be heard." And from there, Ahmed goes through all the different ways in which complaint circulates in institutions, especially universities, but also the ways in which a complainer against a system, against mistreatment, against racism, against sexism or transphobia becomes the complaint itself, or becomes invisibilized, or becomes the very problem rather than the thing they are complaining about. Firstly, Ahmed writes like a dream. Her sentences are just beautiful and clever and interesting, and they circle back on each other. She's a very interesting literary writer, but the book is also heartbreaking, staggering, kind of enraging at times, but also galvanizing. And I think anyone that has ever had to complain in any scenario, not just a university, but I mean anywhere, will find something in here that they can take away. I think I underlined something on every page because sentences jumped out that really spoke to me in particular ways. And I would recommend it to anyone. Anyone that works in higher education, for example, should read in this book. You should 100% have it. But people who generally want to think about what it might mean to make a complaint or to stand against systems of oppression should really read this book. Ahmed is always worth a read. So those are my top 6 books of the year. I couldn't get it into a smaller list, I apologise. But Luster, Detransition Baby, Complaint, Memorial, Filthy Animals, Love After Love. These are books I would strongly recommend. And I look forward to reading more things in the new year and bringing you more videos. Maybe I'll bring some reviews of the books I've just mentioned in depth. Please do like this video, subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, but more importantly, please do comment below. Tell me your top books of the year. I want to know what are the best things you read this year. They don't have to have come out in 2021, but I do want to know what you've been reading and what you would recommend. We can get a nice reading list going below that we can all start with in January. As ever, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with this channel over the past year, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Stay well, happy holidays, look after each other, be safe, and keep reading.